quantitative research. And we found there is, because if you are doing literature in any form of study, so that literature is by and largely very, very qualitative, even if it's got some form of quant, but it's very much by and large qualitative. And your synthesis, it's going to be very subjective. It's according to a perspective, it's according to a lens, it's according to where you are. And that already is a subjective exercise. It's a qualitative exercise itself. So there is indeed a synergy between the two approaches, and we should be joining leaders such as Dr. John Creswell, everybody knows, who literally postulates and advocates for us to see research holistically so that we deal with what works when it's required. That is what we are promoting. So in bibliometric, we looked at certain matrices that will help us to understand the quality of the papers that we are looking at, because Ms. Benston and Dr. Decker, it's nothing, it's not helping to actually have a number of literature sources that don't make sense. So all sources that get in your stuff, they literally, in your paper, they have to go through trial, and they've got to go through evidence. They are your witnesses. We ask your question, how do you know what you say? So your witnesses and the strength of your argument is based on these papers. If Ms. Johanna, we're looking at the strength of an intervention in issues of social dynamics and coping mechanisms for counseling, your papers are the ones that will give strength that this works. And for us to come up with that strength, some of the things that we're looking for, and I'll be revealing here, are quite a number of things that will help. Some of those is to know what are the research trends and what is the growth area in a particular research field. So we want to understand that. And the growth will be shown by interest and many people researching on that particular perspective. And I'll give you an example as I finish the list. So the other important thing is the authorship and its trends in documents on various subjects. So because authors are very, very important to see to what extent do they contribute across different fields or a particular field. And then to also forecast the future of publishing trends. Today, if you do not use artificial intelligence, it's like you are refusing that the sun will rise in the morning and set in the evening. It's like you are fighting reality. We are in the 4IR, and literally one day we'll get somebody like Professor Dangiso to come. We'll invite Professor Dangiso to literally unpack these industrial revolutions and what they mean to ordinary men in the street, and then what do they mean to researchers as well. Because it's very, very critical. AI is not well understood. It has brought a lot of confusion. It has brought a lot of fears as well. For instance, ChatGPT. People don't know how to use ChatGPT, and it falls a victim, but running away from it and other similar tools, it's like you say you don't exist. So these sessions are trying to help you to understand how we can actually use this to inform the work that we do. So we're looking at these future publishing trends, but also productivity of publishers, individual authors, organizations, and countries. It's expected all of us right in this call, and those that are watching us on, I think we are on YouTube or on Facebook. We are on YouTube. Yes, those that are watching this on YouTube, and that will watch that. If you are a scholar, it's incumbent upon you to start writing. We need to deal with the fear of writing. We've got to start somewhere. We can't not write, because if you are a policymaker or you are a practitioner in one area or the other, and if you want to be heard and known as scholar, and you don't want to commit a scientific suicide, and one of the scientific suicides is not the mistakes you are doing in writing, but is not writing. It's a suicide. It's like you are literally becoming non-existent. So it is to publish. So when you publish, your productivity is measured in what extent are you cited. We are able to know that great scholars advocate Great scholars are those that are well published. So we can't just get anybody in our paper who is not contributing, unless if this person was attesting to someone. But we need to get scholars that make sense in our area, because we are not only researchers, but we are actually involved beyond just writing, but in practice as well. What I am doing right now, this is actually practice, because I am a researcher who is also a teacher, and my role is to practice. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So it's incumbent, or it's very important, that you go to Google Scholar, not just Google, but Google Scholar, a scientific database, and put on King Costa on Google Scholar, and you'll start to see my publications and my work, and vice versa. We need to work with you so that we start to see your publications, and that's productivity. Number one, it's publications. It can be conferences, can be preprints, and finally peer-reviewed papers. But we've got to start somewhere. And when we are there, then we've got to see what can we do to assist you so that your job, your work, your scientific work is seen, and then you are cited by scholars. But for you to be cited, you've got to be decisive on the topics that you come up with, so that people want to know more about these and they can reference you. Right, that's productivity. We also using these bibliometrics, or every type of metrics, but particularly bibliometrics that I showed, to also assess research performance in micro, meso, and macro levels. You understand that micro is just right where you are, but meso is even going broader, and macro is actually something like would be a global impact in your field. So it's very, very important to, and you don't have to wait to grow with a number of citations locally, but we've got to make sure that your work is known somewhere. How do you do that? You do that by exactly what I am doing, participating in events such as this, and calling us and say, I am researching something, or we calling you. Like I said, Ms. Bankston, Advocate Bankston, you are online because there is something you want presented on schools, on education, particularly the schools that you're working with, which we will be working with you as well. So it's nice for people to know about these kind of things as a research area. But Dr. Johanna, it's very important as well that one time you come in and you share with us your kind of work in the field of social work and research. And we know, so those are the things that help people to continue from time to time. Let me tell you what social media works. Yes, indeed, we are asking that if you're watching this on YouTube, please do like. But let me tell you what, whether you're seeing likes or not, people are reading your work. And that is how you get to be known by scholars, the scholar community. Horoba, I greet you as well. Join the club and do participate as much as you can. I'm very excited. I see Miss Maloka. Miss Maloka is a policymaker as well, and she's a lady that she's a strategic partner. Actually, we're working closely with her. Greetings, Miss Maloka. We are pleased to see you here. So we're talking about the value of literature, and the other one is to journals. I think I loved what again I remember Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. She did a lot of work advising scholars to know the difference between good and bad journals and how they can actually affect your work. So these are some of the things that we look. But the last one, let's look at the last bullet. There is to identify areas of research strengths and weakness. And today I will be focusing on that. Let's look at the strength of research and its weakness. And we will be using Costa QDA to actually determine that. What are we using to determine the strength and the weakness of the paper itself, so that this paper informs the work that we do in healthcare, in education, in social science, and other areas, public administration, for instance? How do we assess? It's immaterial to actually come up with a strategy that you want to inform your organization, and then you come up with sources that are weak, but you say you're basing your argument for a successful strategy of your organization on this. So it's very, very important that we know and look at the indicators for bibliometrics. So these indicators are authors. Let me just go for commercial. Authors, departments, institutions, countries, journals, documents, subject area. You see, countries help us to identify which country is leading in investigating a particular issue. So countries help us to identify that. And institutions as well help us to know. For instance, if we wanted to know which institutions in South Africa are driving the agenda on a particular field, so we would look at institutions and perhaps journals. But subject areas also help us to know that who is leading, who's a leading guru or specialist or a journal that is leading on issues related to education or healthcare or politics, as we're dealing with governments of what is it? GNU, Government of National Unity, a concept that we're all new to, because this GNU is not the same as the GNU of 1994. But look, we'll invite experts here that are going to unpack that for us too. Okay, so when we're looking at these indicators, please, if there is any question there, post it in the chat room. If there's any question, post it in the chat room. I'll ask Dr. Mulebukeng to assist us with the chats. So if there's anything, I'll come back to you, Doc, and ask if there's any chat and what it says so that we can continue that. And then my IT guy here, Mazu, will help me here with the YouTube to see, is it Letokonolo or yourself? I don't know. Somebody must help me with YouTube if there's anything there. So these are indicators, colleagues. These are indicators, but we need to understand what is rigor. When we read our papers, when we read literature, rigor is very, very important. Besides just selecting, and I think I spent time, that was on Thursday or Wednesday, where we were going through CASP. But it's very important to know that rigor is important. At the Global Center for Academic Research, we published a concept called TAKU, which is mapping, or which is finding a bridge between quantitative and qualitative research, and we're looking for rigor in these articles that we are looking at. So remember that all publications that you're looking at, by and large, not all, by and large, they would be within either the positivist ontology or interpretivist ontology. I mentioned that, and I think I thought about that in the past. We are so much aware of those. Please read Saunders' Research Onion to get perspective of this and the order, because that Research Onion is so good for informing how you write your report, only for presenting methodology, all right? Only for presenting methodology. So rigor would, now we are looking at papers that are published, and we are trying to understand to what extent, it's like I'm rhyming, understanding the extent. Yes, the extent to which rigor was applied in their papers. So within the positives, for positivist approach, the rigor that we're looking at are these four elements, which is your internal validity and external validity, reliability, and objectivity. So that's what we are looking for, right? And that constitutes a high quality paper. If these are shown, if the paper you're looking at for your literature review is quantitative, we need them to show, to see to what extent these were applied. I am saying that because you will see when you actually evaluate your papers, most don't even put that. You actually don't even know what is this paper, what was the purpose of this paper, what were they doing, but it is published already. Okay, So your role as a literature review practitioner is not to undermine the works of others, is not to undermine the papers that you are looking at. We respect the fact that these papers have already been peer reviewed by experts. We simply don't understand why these are lacking. And guess what? Because we don't understand why these are lacking, we are not going to include these papers in our review. That's all we do. But we don't undermine that paper. Of course, we do check which journal it comes from. And in another session, or if I get somebody that comes in to talk about this, we'll address the issue of journals. But for now, I can tell you that in South Africa, the Department of Higher Education and Training has got a list of journals that are accredited. What does that mean? It means that if you publish, particularly those of you who are in public universities, if you write, then there's great opportunity for growth and even for funding and even for getting a rating at the National Research Foundation if you are using the DHET accredited journals. I'm pleased to mention that I am on the editorial board of New Trends on Qualitative Research. It is a DHET accredited journal and indexed by quite a number of indexes such as Scopus, Google Scholar, and a Cielo, and so Crossref. So you are safe with us. But we are not the only journal. There's thousands and thousands of journals, because the papers that you get there at least are high quality, but you might still find these very same errors, because remember, to err is human, right? So within the interpretivist, so you've got the concept of credibility, transferability, dependability, confirmability. I think all those that deal purely with qualitative research, we are now familiar with these concepts. We use them all the time. We are also guilty, because we always say we've done this or we applied these principles, but we cannot demonstrate. And I see that a lot, advocate, when I look at articles. I see that there is a lot that is not done with regard to how credibility was applied. You can imagine just credibility alone has got about 5 or 6 strategies. It's got triangulation, it's got peer debriefing, it's got quite a number of things that you've got to literally follow, and you'll see they are not there themselves. Negative case analysis, stepwise replication, audit trail as well is one of those. So there's quite a number of these that are just in credibility. We are not saying papers should demonstrate all those. No, I was saying you, when you write, you should demonstrate all those. Your research question and your analysis will direct you exactly what have you got to do, and that you've got to do, so that you can say, when I applied credibility, this is what I did. So we start now with literature, because it prepares us to actually write papers and start to present high quality papers. And I've said that we no longer write it for the sake of writing. You are either doing your degree, or you are either interested in a particular policy area or particular problem in society, whether in safety, whether in health, whether in economics, whether in education, but you are interested in a particular area, and the only thing that you could do is to write scientifically. So that those are things that you must find in these papers, the high quality papers, right? Now, having found those, what is TAKU now? TAKU looks at the truth values. These are the values, and it says whether there was credibility or internal validity, because internal validity, it correlates with credibility in qual. So in quant, it is internal validity. Its approach is different, but it correlates to credibility in qual. That is why in qual you can't say I applied credibility, I applied validity and reliability. No, you cannot. The only time we use the word reliability is when we use the intercoder reliability statistic in qual, and I will talk about that later on. You will find papers that refer to that, but otherwise the means of the correspondence of the function in qual, correspondence of validity and reliability in qual, that is trustworthiness. Okay, and trustworthiness has got credibility, transferability. Transferability correlates with external validity. Dependability correlates with reliability, and conformability correlates with objectivity. So you can see, as you're looking at the slide, that there are these two sides, quant and qual, and this is how you actually apply rigor. And if rigor is applied that way, we will find it in papers, in high quality papers that we are going to use in our study to make an argument, and a sound argument. And then in terms of the TAKU, those are values, as I mentioned. So you've got the truth value, the applicability value, consistency value, and unbiasedness or neutrality. That is very, very important, that the situation that we are investigating, we become neutral. I am laughing because I am reminded of how people in practice, Miss Maluka, what happens in practice. There are clients of ours that you will go there, and when we present certain things, objectivity becomes an issue, because research might find certain things that they are not expecting, and to understand that, let's look at the findings and methods that produce this. It's not necessarily the same to what I know. Otherwise, why are you doing a research if you already know what the outcome will be and what is there? Maybe you're just doing it just to check things out. But that is the application of rigor. We must find it in the papers that we are actually dealing with. So that is just one aspect that I wanted to show you. So let's look at what questions do we ask on each of these. So for internal validity, we are asking ourselves a question. Can we prove that the dependent variable is caused directly by independent variable? So this is what you've got to find in the paper. We've got to find that this comes out. If they say they applied internal validity, so we are asking ourselves those questions. We need to see it, and this doesn't come out. So if you use papers like that, what are you actually proving in your own paper? So in external validity, if they say they have applied it, we are asking ourselves, can we prove that the results are generalizable? If they say they applied external validity, so we're asking ourselves that question. If they say they applied reliability, then we ask ourselves a question. Can we prove that the study is conducted if the study is conducted at different intervals, different places or contexts, the results could be the same? Can we prove that? So that the methods and the consistency in methods of data collection and analysis and everywhere, can we rely on that? Because if we can rely on that, we are likely to get the same outcome if the circumstances were the same. Can we also prove that the findings were not manipulated as well? So that is objectivity. If there was a manipulation, to what extent? And here objectivity refers to issues of researcher bias. That's what this objectivity refers to. It refers to issues of researcher bias. Can we find that in the papers themselves? Can the papers bring this forward? Can they have a skill to give us the confidence that they actually applied rigor? Now that is the questions we ask ourselves about rigor in the positivist dimension, but we also ask ourselves the questions when we read these papers, because I know, colleagues, that you yourselves, you apply these. Greetings, Dr. Joyce Banda. So is there any other question at the moment? Dr. Mlebuche, is there any chat? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Right. So anybody else, if you want to put on a chat, Doctor is going to help us there just to administer those chats. Please put in there. Thank you so much, Doc. So this is now what we're looking at in the, and do not be frustrated, colleagues, because you are likely going to struggle to find these in papers. They are not there. That is why I will also take you back to CASP and say, how then do we deal with that so that you don't find your research being frustrating? How do we deal with this? But it's my desire that we should see that the results that were conducted were valid, can be trusted, and they can be trusted if these questions can be answered. But that is only for positivists. So let's see now in the interpretivist tradition. So there we are in the interpretivist tradition. We've got credibility. Oh, sorry for my font. My credibility is big when I don't know what happened when I was presenting, but I hope you can still see its credibility. And they are all the same concepts as I mentioned earlier. So we're asking ourselves, can we establish and demonstrate confidence in the research methods used in the study? So we are asking ourselves that first. And then with regard to the transferability, we say, can we demonstrate the extent to which the study applies to different contexts? An example, colleagues, I always like that study we conducted with Dr. Violet Shai, where we were looking at the rationale behind intimate partner violence. So we interviewed about 12 people in different prisons in South Africa, and these people had committed murders. And what we found out was that one of the reasons for intimate partner violence was anger, the other one was peer pressure and issues of ego, and ego was based as well onto the cultural theory itself. Those are some of the things that we found. Now, the question here on dependability says, can we demonstrate that if we were to apply these conclusions in the Eastern Cape or somewhere else, could we find similar things? Could men who perpetrate intimate partner violence, could we find these are some of the issues? I think also the issue of equality in the house was issue, not that they wanted to be equal, but they wanted to remain, higher. So a woman can't say this to me. So these are the things that we found. Or I can't be beaten by a woman. And then this other one, the woman was so strong and beat the guy. And when people started laughing, the man pulled out a gun and shot his wife. And you can realize that if the people did not laugh at him, if people did not see that, that murder would not have been committed. So you can see that those issues, those are deeper issues, and qualitative should do that. So if we found that, is it possible that we can find the same findings if we do the same study in the Eastern Cape or Western Cape or anywhere else, or even another country with similar situations as South Africa? So these are the questions we're asking ourselves. So we ask ourselves questions when we look at papers within the positivist paradigm. We ask ourselves questions when we look at papers within the interpretivist paradigm. So we don't end there. We also want to see if, for instance, for any reason, the paper was a mixed method paper that we are looking at. We then want to find out, having asked ourselves these questions, we want to find out how did sources of information from one angle, how were they actually compared with others to find results, which is your triangulation there. And so that's very important. That word for me was so difficult, colleagues. When I was doing my PhD, starting in there, and I remember one colleague said, "Oh, we're going to do triangulation." Then I decided I'm not going to be in this course anymore because I don't know what triangulation is. So I'm not taking it for granted that these words might be difficult, and don't feel bad if they're difficult. If you can't pronounce epistemology, don't feel bad. This is not what you are talking about every day. It might come easy from my mouth if I say epistemology. This might come much more easier. I can see ethno-methodology. This can come much more easier. But you're not dealing with this in your everyday English. Hence you call it the language of research. That is so serious. So that is why I want us to treat each other with respect and know that this is not English, it is a research. Because I almost left my PhD because of these difficult words. Because I thought, maybe this is not for me. Every time I say these words, I can't even say them. But you need a community of practice where researchers are there respecting one another and growing together. Right? I thought I must just mention that. So within that triangulation itself, there could be quite a number of triangulations that are coming out. These are the four that are kept. Data triangulation, methodological triangulation, researcher or analyst triangulation. That is where those that worked with me on recent research, they know about the importance of intercoder reliability. So where the researchers, the analysts, are also triangulated, their findings are triangulated through what is called percentage agreement, and then taking it further to statistics where we use Cohen's kappa. Yes, I know that is a little bit foreign to say statistics in qual, but that's exactly what is the truth. That is why I said this difference between qual and quant, we need to find a reason for them. They are not different, but they are serving different reasons and inquiries in research, and there's no one that is better than the other. They have to work hand in hand. Imagine we're talking literature review. Literature review is available in quant, it's available in qual. So that is the approach where we're coming from. Right. Now, having done that, because there's a few things that I want to rush within this time, this limited time, so that we can wrap this in literature review. There is also even a practice that I'll do now. So let's look at the types of literature review. If I run too fast on the types of literature review, bear with me and let me know. Greetings, Dr. Chris. I see you've just come in as well. Nice to have you here. Right. So please let me know, colleagues, if I am running fast, because I would like us to engage. We do literature review. We have done literature reviews ourselves. I am guilty myself. If I didn't know of these things, I know them now, but I wish I'd known them then, right? So these are the types of literature review. Okay, let me start them slow so that I'm not fast with everyone. So I created this mnemonic that says Kelmock, Kel like Kelly hair. I think you can see I'm trying to grow dreads. So don't be surprised one day I'm going to be having dreads. So I'm getting you ready so that you are not shocked, because that's where I'm going. So don't be surprised. So, but my hair is not Kelly, but other people's hairs are Kelly. So if you can remember Kel in the her, so at least you would be, the spelling, the R should be before L. I'll reverse that. I don't know how it happened, but it is curl. So right, curl. So it should be C-U-R, but this time when I was preparing, it came up C-U-L. It doesn't matter. It's a mnemonic, but on an abbreviation. The abbreviations help us to learn. So C, as you can see there, it gives you a type of review, and it stands for what is called critical review. And you use critical review for certain things, and its synthesis usually will be a narrative. Most literature reviews are narrative, but others require a table so that you can show, you demonstrate your findings, but you still end up in the narrative in your synthesis. All right. A critical review does not need any formal quality assessment on its own. So what do I mean by formal quality assessment? I mean a lot of sensitivity into treatment of your literature, but it does not necessarily mean that you've got to be irresponsible, take any literature that does not necessarily require to be there. So it aims to demonstrate that you have extensively researched literature and critically evaluated the quality itself. So that's why you'll find out that appraisal is not an issue, because already by the virtue of the fact that it's a critical review, there is that demonstration. So when you say you've done a critical review, being critical about it is going to be looked at. Remember we talked about critical And we said that there are a number of questions that you ask yourself when it comes to issues of being critical. So we look at that. Those questions were what? What refers to, it's a descriptive question. You describe something. Why? Why gives you a rationale. It also gives you a justification, because rationale and justification might not necessarily be the same, but they can be. So why? Every time you deal with the question why, you want to know after being told what. And then the other question is how, and how deals with the process. So these are critical reading questions. So how deals with the process. And having said how, then you remember who are affected by this problem. Who are they? Who are they? And who are going to be involved in bringing solution? What is their experience in bringing this solution? So who is also a critical question. Or who must we get in? Who do we recommend to be part of the solution? So that is who, but not only that, when will this happen? When will this happen? What are the time frames? When did this problem, which is a what, when did it occur? So when, there could be so many sub-questions just under when alone, just under what alone, just under who, just under where. There would be smaller questions that need you to sit there when you do your literature review and think hard, because your thinking hard will even tell you what type of literature review you are going to write. So you need to reflect deeply about this question. The other question that is important is, having answered the question who is impacted, the other question is where. Is it in Tembisa? Is it in Hammanskraal? Is it in Gauteng as a whole? Or is it in some regions? How is it happening in these regions? Is it the same experience in Ekurhuleni with, so you deal with these kind of questions and you ask yourself those questions. It's called critical thinking. A critical thinker applies such rigor in their thinking. They use the 5 W's and their brother H. That's how they critically think. And that's how they critically think. All right. So a critical review would have had that. But the next one is what is called an umbrella review, which really is a quality assessment of studies in terms of its appraisal. What does that mean? It's a method that specifically refers to a review compiling evidence from multiple reviews. So it's a review over reviews themselves. And it tends to be graphical, but like I said, that it's graphical, but it will always have narrative comments at the end of the day. That's an umbrella review. So we can't literally think of that. I'm just giving you a scope of what these are, but we can't be getting there. While I'm talking, think of Cal, then go CalMOC. CalMOC, a Cal and MOQ. So that's CalMOC. Once you remember CalMOC, it will be easy for you to remember the number of reviews I've just taught you today. So CalMOC, and we'll sing this. We'll make a music about this. All right? Let me continue. So L is R. So please bear in mind that I should be dealing with R first before L, because for Cal, R comes first. So I'll sort the slide later on. But L is for the literature review. It may not require appraisal. Those that are studying under our university itself at South Valley, we require that literature review not just be literature review. It needs to have some form of appraisal. We can't have papers that are not appraised. They know our students. We are busy right now taking in students as well for masters, and we are taking in students for PhDs, and they know very well when they go through the sessions that their literature has to be appraised, and our students get recommended highly in different institutions because our adherence to strict controls on literature. We believe that literature is actually critical for making decisions. in business, in public and private sector, and even in non-governmental sectors. Literature is critical. Right, so that's literature review. It's generic term used as a second chapter in most of the studies, and is usually narrative. But let's go now to, and while we are there, I've prepared a template as well that we can look at for the chapter of literature review if we get time. If we don't get time, because we are here at 7 o'clock every day, so we'll be able to do that. When I said every day, as per, if it's announced that we'll be notified, but rest assured, we're going to be here every day. Right, now it's a rapid review. So during COVID-19, Dr. Maleboheng, during COVID-19, welcome Dr. Pauline Malulega, my old friend. She is also, we have a similar background with work on HIV, though now I'm on education. She's still a doctor working on HIV intervention and prevention strategies. Welcome, Dr. Maluleke. So I was saying, Dr. Rabutata, I was saying that when you look at COVID-19, most of the reviews that were done earlier, I remember because my paper was written in March, it was published on the 15th of March. And you will know that I think a few days after my paper was published, then there was, state of emergency in the country. There was the lockdown. Yeah, there was the lockdown in 2020. But most of my work was based on a lot of rapid reviews. That's when the role of preprint was seen globally. Because if you wanted published studies on COVID-19, you would not find them. There was no COVID-19 before. So you needed to rely on critically appraised preprints. And a lot of journals such as the MDPI, Sage, Springer, they started to own and have produced the preprint servers, because that was a need. We at the Global Center for Academic Research, we also have a preprint server. So please visit that when you go to our VLE. Go to VLE and then start to look at those tabs on top there. You will see the preprint and start to see if we can use that as well. Preprints are also editor moderated, and they get you quick on Google Scholar, and they get you discovered. So one of the powerful advantages of a preprint is discoverability, and you get invitations to conferences, and all scholars get to know and understand your work, because anything that is published on a preprint is an indication that the work is not complete, it's still continuing. Right, so that is a rapid review. So this is time limited, and it's assessment of what is already known, such as a policy practice issue by using systematic review. So most policies that are, for instance, in healthcare, Marjorie, a lot of work that you are doing there, it's actually we are tempted as well to do a lot of research on the national health insurance, for instance. So because it's part policy and practice and implementation based. I'm saying that because our research is always published so that scholars know what we are doing. So Marjorie, you are on health insurance, you are on health research as well. So you might find out that you look at issues of policy for access. So this might also help you as a component of your literature review. It's got tables as well, and it's narrative. Then you've got the mapping review. I conducted a mapping review. As much as it's got no formal quality assessment, a mapping review is you map out what is existing literature from the, or you map out that which is there. If you look at my study that says, I think it was on thematic analysis. So from that study, I used a mapping review. So I mapped a number of studies and combined them for even further recommended further work on them as well. But that was it. And the further work recommendation was on the gaps that I identified there. So what could be done? So it's a mapping review, but it also needs extensive read. Right, it's graphical, it's tables as well. So the next one is an overview. So we are on the mock MOQ. So the next one is an overview. An overview may or may not require an appraisal, but it is a summary and it's usually used in medical research. Those that are in health and medicine, so they might know a lot about overviews because they do them quite in synthesis. We are very, very strong in that one because we are largely qualitative researchers who are biased towards as well quant. So we do quant to generalize, but we do qual to get deeper understanding of where the problem is and what the problem is. Can I hear if there is any comment while I go for commercial? Any comment? Let me see here. Oh yes, there is there. From Auskinewe, you say, what happens when literature on a specific subject is either biased or, let me see again the question. What happens when literature on a specific subject is either biased or is the area that is not researched broadly, especially because the subject lacks support in our traditional universities? Wow, that's an interesting one. Right, that side, or Tabana was saying I am mute. Okay. Auskinewe, one of the mapping that I did, and we're gonna do this mapping today again, if we get time. First, we said that we use analytics to show us what is researched and what is still lacking. I'll give you an example. There's something I'm going to demonstrate with regard to the field of Dr. Mutlalipule. She is in positive psychology, but she's not attending at the moment. She just had something urgent to look at. So we've got to first understand that we've got to scan the area and see where research is. The area that is not well researched is also, for me, is fertile ground. It's fertile ground because that means either that problem is not understood. It could mean a lot of things. But we've got, as scholars, to go beyond universities and not focus only on universities. The knowledge economy or knowledge scope or knowledge practice is beyond universities. Actually, universities are a small component of it because what universities would be producing is great literature, and then they also now publish a lot, and congratulations to University of Johannesburg there. It's right at the top at the moment. That is, if they still are, but a few months ago they were on the top. So the issue is, are there sufficient authors who got expertise in the area to write about the matter? Here's an example, Auskinewe. My area of research, besides healthcare, is on education, particularly research. And I found out big problems in South African universities particularly. I found out that in big universities, students enroll in numbers. Those that are doing masters, they enroll about 4,000 in these big universities. 4,000, and that's probably a small number now because my study was in 2018. It found out that 4,000 across a number of universities, so I had to just rely on SIPs, and I got my data from Council for Higher Education, CHE, so it was reliable data. And what shocked, I thought I had uncovered something, should have seen me after that study. I was walking right in space. I don't think I was touching the ground. I thought I found the problems. I was very happy. Guess what? When I started going to universities, I was so disappointed because I was told, so what do you think? We know about this. We know this problem. So I was a new researcher. Well, I'm very, very new in the space of research. I literally started in 2018. So very, very, very new. So now I find out that, okay, they say they know about this. That's when I realized that the focus is not on universities. And that is how this practice, the Global Center for Academics Research, was born. And since then, I'll see, we've already produced 25 PhDs, more than 25 PhDs. I think we've got more than 200 publications collectively in different journals since 2018. So I think we can all contribute in an area and not only focus on universities. If we're waiting for them, there are many challenges there. Challenges are, you'll see them in that paper. So I think a research area we've got to make an interest and find out more. Also even find out why is there no much known. But for you to know, you've got to use analytics, and I'll make a demonstration as I continue. There's a special demonstration. I think I felt it in the spirit that you're going to ask that question. So I'll do that just now as we go on. Is there any other question? I'm looking here in the chat as well if there's any question. However, I've not heard you ask any question. You used to ask me difficult questions last time. Okay, let's go on. Right. So that side you've got CalMOC. This side you've got SMS. SMS. You can't forget that. Like SMS. It's just that it's got MS. These are mnemonics for you to remember. So who remembers CalMOC or just the Cal? Who can say something Cal? Just Cal? It's a dialogue. So when I turn, I know I'm looking like I'm turning. I'm looking at the screen there. So who remembers? Who remembers Cal? Just open, unmute. Right? Go on, Doc.
Critical review.
Yes.
Umbrella review.
Cal, you. Yes.
Literature review.
Because of that error, yes. So that R should have been ahead. Okay, that's fine. Yes. Next. Oh, I've just given the next one.
Content review.
What?
Content review.
Okay. Next.
Content review.
Yeah.
Mapping.
Yeah, it's CalMOC. Okay, who wants to try the mock? Who wants to try the mock?
Mapping.
Right?
Mapping review.
Yes.
And the last one is quantitative.
You are close, but you...
Qualitative synthesis review and overview.
Oh, so Chris and Miss Maluka, you are sharing that. Okay, so we got CalMOC. So, so you practice that. I'm not looking it anyway, so we can say with anybody else want to say. So Cal, C, critical review. U, umbrella review. No, let me not be the one who's talking alone. Let's start. C, critical review.
Critical review.
Yes, let's go all of us, yes. Right?
Umbrella review.
Right?
Mapping review.
Right?
Literature review.
So, let's all go for it, yes?
Mapping review.
Right? There got to be 8. Overview.
Qualitative synthesis.
Right? I'm looking for 1.
Overview.
Aye, overview was said. All right. Yeah, so you practice that, you'll be surprised. Everybody will be surprised how you remember them. They pass the subconscious mind. Sorry, they pass the rational mind to the subconscious mind. Once they get to the subconscious mind, they are stored there. The subconscious mind's capacity is 88%, and your rational mind is only 12%. So while we're still thinking, but when it is in there, it can't go out. And that is what helps the researcher. We are helped by understanding the application of these acronyms in how we learn. Right. So SMS is another method of review. So it's a scoping review. So that one does not need a formal assessment, but it's preliminary assessment of the size and the scope available research. So it aims to identify the nature and extent of research evidence. It's like what we call in primary research, we call explorative research. So you are exploring the area itself to understand the extent of the impact. So it's more explorative. It is also a research method that can actually be used as well by policymakers and practitioners, because it's going to be helping them to actually deal with issues that they need if they want to go for practice. Let me just go for my water.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can ask a question.
Is it possible that we link these reviews with the designs that are relevant to? Because I want to believe that every review is talking to a particular design.
I totally agree with you. As a matter of fact, it would be because the design would be your qualitative, okay, in this case, your design would be your systematic review. So your design would be a systematic review and saying which strategy are you using within that design. Your strategy would be any of these reviews. So the same research onion, you would have it, but under method, you would then, and this is when you are doing a research. But today I was talking from the perspective of looking at the papers. So whether you are writing or you are reading the papers, yes. So today I was addressing it from the perspective of reading these papers, because I get frustrated, Dr. Johanna. I see many papers and there isn't even this design, so you don't know exactly what was happening. And a lot of us scholars are very guilty when we write, myself included, in the past. So I'm continually becoming repentant, because we just write. One of the things that we like to say is that this is a desktop review. We like saying that. So we need to be accountable and say, since all research is desktop anyway, also knowing that the concept of desktop research is actually synonymous, its use is synonymous with a research that is non-intrusive. And intrusive research is like when I go to interview people or do focus groups or do experiments. So that's intrusive, it's interacting with human subjects. So desktop is any of these in essence. So we must, whether we say we use desktop, but exactly which desktop strategy. So your question is absolutely powerful. So even when we read these papers, we ask ourselves the same question. Which desktop strategy was used? But they will tell you, we searched so many papers on Google Scholar. Hi, you see, you've got to deal with that. But that was a great question. Right, so meta-analysis is very complicated. I'm still learning this one. It's very, maybe it's not, but, or maybe I've not had time. Meta-analysis, I'm still learning it. A lot of people confuse meta-analysis with meta-synthesis. They are not the same. So, what is meta-synthesis? Meta-synthesis is that Q right there at the bottom. Qualitative evidence synthesis. It's sometimes called meta-synthesis. It's sometimes called meta-ethnography, coming up from the notion that it's using similar studies, which are qual, so they would say meta-ethnography. Not a lot of people have used that word, but the Cochrane collaboration, which is an authority over this type of research, over systematic reviews, have recommended qualitative evidence synthesis. So qualitative evidence synthesis is meta-synthesis, but a meta-analysis is not meta-synthesis. It's a quantitative, it's a purely quantitative study. It's a purely quantitative study. Right? Now, then we go to the S. S is the state of the art research. So these are just for you to know. Then you've got mixed. This one is interesting because the mixed studies, which requires a formal or generic appraisal down, refers to any combinations of methods where one significant component is a literature review, usually systematic. So you can, Dr. Chris, conduct a study using mixed methods as part of your review, but having a few interviews that you want to do out there. So that's what this one is as well. So it could be good for those that are doing primary research, so that their review can be under this mixed review. But also you could have different methods even within the very same approach. Then you've got a systematic review. But remember, all of these are systematic reviews, but you then also have a systematic review. So these are the methods that you use. So I want to focus on the qualitative exercise because our big question is, can qualitative research influence social issues, can influence policy, and what is its role? We've seen it in our recent study where we looked at how the government communicates its achievements to the citizens. We've got many similar studies like that we'll be conducting, because as social researchers, we've seen that it's very important that we actually take a role in social research, as it is not only abstract, but even in practice itself. Right. So I still remember what I promised to show you our skinny with. So this is just the last part that I want to show, and then I'll take questions, and then I'll go to the live demonstration. I think a lot of us know about this Atmos SR. This is how the literature, as we look at, all the papers that we look at, they must avoid, the papers that we come up with, Dr. Mlebotleng, must not be implicit or opaque or chaotic, subjective, variable, and idiosyncratic. They should not be like that. Rather, papers should be very explicit, transparent in methods, methodological in approach, in process, and very objective. Standards are followed, like appraisal standards that we just shown, and it's got a particular structure. So we're talking about IMRAT many times. If it is an article, IMRAT, we talk about it. So it's just one of those important things that it should have. Right. Let me see what Dr. J says. Or Dr. Joanna, you want to speak this out?
Yes, Prof. I wanted to check with you if it's possible or permissible for one to use more than one reviews in a research study. For example, I'm thinking of a critical review and maybe combine it with an umbrella review or systematic review.
So you are talking about something like, look at umbrella review. Are you talking about something like that?
Yes, Prof. Is it allowed?
Yes, you can do that. But All you need is, remember, a systematic review on its own, one paper, is not enough to inform your study. So you've got to look at different, so you could do a review of reviews.
Okay, Prof.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Okay. So now let me go to that live demonstration. I hope we don't have challenges that we had yesterday. To try and also answer the question of oh, so I can't do that. Can I do it here? I want to share the screen. Okay, let me just have the team help me here. Just one second. Just give me a little bit of a break. Now I want to share live screen. I want to share. Oh yeah, there he is. Yes. Okay, let's see. How do I do it?
Okay, I can see your screen from there, so you can enter. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
can see your screen.
Alrighty, thank you.
Sure. You can find me.
Alrighty. So, oh yeah, there's my screen there. Okay, I can see it. Alright. Hey.
You can repeat what you just said now.
Okay. Right. There's my screen over there. So I'm trying to understand this technology. Okay, colleagues. So you asked a question, so I'll go straight to positive psychology. So I'll put a search term, positive psychology in South Africa. This is what came out with that search term. I'm just making that example. So it does indicate if something is not well written. So let's do something again. Let's use this and then further explore and say positive psychology and what? Positive psychology and leadership. Right. Let's do that and see what we can get. We're trying to understand to what extent is positive psychology used in South Africa. So let me deal with this. You will have these buses as well. Your day is coming for the buses. So let me do this, right? But look at that. I've got only two. So let's look at another area. Let's look at something else that we can investigate. What do you want me to check, Dr. Chris? Something we want to see, how can we check where the research is? So I want to demonstrate with bibliometrics. What keyword, what area can we check? Education maybe, right. Progressed evolution of educational systems. Let me just do that broadly. And from 2019, let me just do that. And maybe I'm looking for 500 articles. Let's see what comes out. And I've just done globally, so I'm not saying in South Africa or anywhere. So I'm looking for 500 papers through Google Scholar on the evolution of educational systems. So I did not use Boolean logic. I only used my search term as it is, but using it like this, colleagues, as well, it's problematic because things will come haphazardly from different areas. Do you see what is happening here? So I am going to try and understand what is written here, but I'll come back and quote it, because if I've not quoted it, it will look for papers that talk about evolution. It will look for papers that talk about educational systems, but it can also look for papers that talk about systems. Right? So the proper way of searching on this kind of a tool is to quote. But we are trying to see then, based on what we have, 500 papers came out between 2019 and 2024. Look on the left hand side there. So papers came on educational. So let's see when we do a bibliometric, how far and how rich is the work that has been done on this end? Who are the gurus there? So I am saving this now, educational evolution, right? I'm gonna save it in my downloads. Now I'm going to force viewer, and I'm going to create a new map. So based on text, or I'm looking about the authors. So I'm choosing the option to create co-authorship keyword occurrence, because I use the keyword. So how many times does that keyword happen, and its citations, and any other bibliographic data. So I'm moving on. Now I'm going to choose the data source. So it's going to be RIS, because I saved it as RIS. Then I'm just running fast because I'm assuming you were in that class. If not, I'll repeat that. Okay? So, but I want to put it today. How did I say that? What did I call it? What did I call this document? I just saved now. Okay. Just a second. What was it? Research, supervisor, publication, QR. Education subject. Oh, there it is, yes. Thank you, Dr. Chris. There it is. Okay. Education, right. Thank you, Dr. Chris. Right. So I want full counting, and I'm looking for authors and co-authorship. So that's what you're seeing here. So let me go on. I just want to understand. So what is done to answer that question of Auskinewe? We'll look at that question on different angles and different tools. So we've used two tools now, Hazens, Publish or Perish, and Force Viewer as well. And these tools are free of charge. All you need to do is just download it. So look at the screen here. It says minimum number of documents per author on educational evolution. And it says, because I don't have 4, you can see that it's great. I can't go to each author that is likely going to come, it's coming with 3 papers, not more. Out of 1,068 authors, only 4 met the threshold. That is how you actually check Auskinewe. If you want to know how is the work or the phenomena being investigated, so only 4, and this one was not even refined to geographical area, it was just open. So when we come to geographical areas, it could be a problem. So that means, therefore, our search 500 papers might not have been enough. We might have to increase the papers, and we might have to change the search terms. But if we were to use this as it were, it would create a map, and you can still see that it says for each of the 4 authors, the total strength of the co-authorship links with other authors will be calculated. The authors with the greatest total link strength will be selected. So it looks at those 4 authors that it said we have. And those authors were Chen, Jai, Huang, and Wang. Wang is always writing everywhere. I see Wang in leadership. Yes, look at that. So that is how your map is going to come up with. Look at that. So the only thing that you could do perhaps is what is called density visualization, just to see these authors, and they are not connected. If we look at the connection there, let me go there, you can see they are not connected. The lines are connecting. So the lines should be going either way. To demonstrate what I'm showing, I can also go and pull out another list, and then you can see what happens when authors are connected, right? So this already tells you that there is a problem with that area, but the problem could be the search term, the problem could be the number of papers. So when you do literature review, you can't just rely on 500 papers, because all those 500 papers might not necessarily qualify to give you what you are looking for. So you might need quite more than just 500 papers. That is why, Ms. Maloka, someone must not be surprised when they hear that you had 3,000 articles that you looked at, but you made your decision based on only 9 articles. They're like, so why did you look for 3,000? Look here, I had 500 papers and they did not meet part of what I am looking for. So let's look as well. Let me go back and let's see where I've got 1,000 papers. So here I've got 1,000 papers. I was looking at qualitative research in the African context. Remember that project we announced during the World Conference. So we are continuing with it, and we have a conference. I'll talk about it just before we end. So as I was preparing, so I also looked at this, and so I'm gonna do another live demonstration. So let me save these results. Still as RIS, if you are using hasn't published or perished, and then I'm going to call it Quali Africa. So I'll remember that, Dr. Chris. So now I'm going to first viewer, and then I go to create. Let me cancel that one. Fine, then I'm going to create. Then I start all over based on, I'm still interested in the bibliographic data itself, and I want to know how far has been written about qualitative research in the African context. So I want to find out that, right? So I continue, then I'm going to look for that file, and don't tell me, Dr. Chris, I said I won't forget. Big Quali, it was Quali. It was Quali, what is it? Quali Africa, yes. There. So I select that one. Right? And then I go next. So I'm looking for authors. And then I go next. So it says out of 1,266 authors. Remember, I looked for papers, but authors could be more because some authors are co-authored. Some papers are co-authored. So it says the total was 1,266 of authors in those papers. Right? So let me see if I were to increase that. So if I were to increase that, I cannot go beyond 7, or I cannot go beyond 8. And if it ends at 8, it says minimum number of documents of an author out of 1,260, only 4 met the threshold. Let's limit this to 5 so that we can get 10 that met the threshold. All right, so I go next. You can see my 10 is still there. Next. So, and I've got these search terms. So not search terms, these authors. You know Bremen, we see Bremen a lot. He's got 8 articles, 8 documents. And then Bell has got 7 documents. And these are the documents that were looked at. So let's finish and see the map that comes out. Let's look at the map. And first let's look at connectivity. You can see there's the connectivity map. Let me see if I do overlay. Yeah, it's a weird map because there isn't much. So you still see they we're distant from each other. These are the clusters. So you can see that Bell and Emma work together. Harley and Bill, they work together. Bremen and Alan, they work together. But that tells you who is doing what. So this tool can help you. If you put in country, it can also help you. Where are they writing? But I'm trying to answer that question with regard to literature. It empowers you when you write your literature. You know what is known. So let's go further. Now, I want to go to demonstrate in the Costa QDA. Am I able to get there? I'm getting to the Costa QDA. Oh yeah, it goes now, right? Here, we're going to look at what I was trying to show you yesterday. I'll start with this paper. That is still again in education. Yes, remember I just showed you that I told you that my work is in education. So this is one of the papers that I was talking about. So let's go and see how we can look at the key authors and who they are and what they do, right? So I've got to log on. You go to the Costa QDA, it can help you to do that. So I will just go straight to impact itself. So if you don't, yes, right, there we are. So look at this. You see, I took the DOI. DOI is the digital object identifier. So it is a system that identifies the author's works. So you can see now that I put in a new query and I said this link is integrated in the Costa QDA, but it is not a tool that we develop, but we put in tools that can help you with your work so that you don't have to struggle with your research. So if you look at this table here, it shows you the articles, as I said, that were used. But besides the number of articles that were used, you are all able as well to see who is the guru, who is the key author in this, because look at the heading there. You've got the author, you've got the title, the author, the year, reference, citation. Now that citation is important because it tells us how is that author cited in the field. And you can see that the highest cited author in this project was cited only 41 times. And if you want to go to that, you would literally click on that link where it's 41. And it was better in 2009. So you can literally go straight to that paper as well. And then it will open a paper for you. And there's the paper, so you can see the paper. So you know that this is the most cited in the paper that I used. So you are able then to look at that person and say, how is this person believed as well as a seminal author in the field? So that when you present your data, you can say, I have worked with key sources. So you also do the same process as well. You also do the same process, and then it sets up a new query for them. So this is how we know the strength and the other authors and what are they doing in the field. So when you present your literature review, you are able to say, so and so is doing this, so and so is doing this, but there is a gap here. So this is best scientific approach to demonstrate gaps, because you've used these tools and demonstrated the extent of the missing link. So there we are. So that's the second paper now, battle, that we looked at. And we can see now, he also used papers, and he used 42 papers where it says input articles. So you can see it was 42 papers. So having used 42 papers, which were the key papers in his study? So this graph grows, so you know where to get your literature. So if you look at this, you can see that we've got authors that were, like the first one is 582, but you've got this one that I'm highlighting, who has got globally, is a guru respected globally, 853. So when you use that one in this field as well, you know that this person is, that's how you keep digging to know who the guru is. So I might be interested to deeper in this one and say, how did they end their right in here? Who do they use? So if I were to make that example, I'm doing this for the last time. So because that's the highest is this one. The highest is, my goodness, osteoarthritis. I used to suffer from that. I'm using the past tense. So even if you still see me walking with a stick, I'll be healed soon. So this one was cited 2,025 times. So let's go and see what made this person, what is it, why are they such respected? So we go to that one as well. And there's the paper from the Lancet. Date is from the Lancet. If I were to be able to get, so the magic when you go to Costa QDA is the DOI, or there's the DOI. So I would copy that DOI, DOI, and then go back. So you are seeing these sessions in these evenings. And the idea, I did say that you need to, so today you'll get onto the portal itself. You're gonna get in there, and my Nolo is gonna help us to make sure that you are able to use this. You don't just see it on the screen. So we're gonna do that just now after I finish this. Right. So let's see this one. Essentially, this software, it also brings the diagrams. So the diagrams gives you a visual perspective. It's called a citation map. It gives you a visualization of seeing exactly who is big and how many people go to that. Yes. So just a one, we are just about to finish this part. 46%, it's going. Because it's well cited, so it's probably a huge paper. Let's see. Any questions so far while this is uploading? All right, two things we're gonna do. It's 70%. I'm going to show that outline. And I feel like challenging us to write a paper this week. How's that? I'll work with all of you. And if you write that, all of you, because I work with your co-author. So let's see how many people on the call. Can you imagine I'll be having 12 people? Okay, I feel like challenging you to write papers. Okay, there we are. So there's that big paper. Look at this. Do you see how it grows, Dr. Johanna? Now look at the first one. We seeing someone who cited.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, we see someone who cited 10,000 times, 231. But you can see that it is a journey. This is a paper of 1957. So this helps you as a scholar. You are able to demonstrate such things. So this is another good tool to help you to do literature review. Right, I think I've gone too far for today. So can I ask you one thing? If you are thinking of question, but in the meantime, please go on to this website. It's app.costa.qda. Log on there, because once you log on, you go to this website, register there. Don't worry, when you register, it's going to ask you for subscription. It's going to ask for this, but you are not paying. None of you are paying subscription. Actually, for me, it shows the plan. None of you are going to pay anything. You're going to get onto this thing free of charge as part of your learning, because I want you to be able to work with me, and we do this literature reviews and as a practice. It could end up being your article. So join that software. As soon as you join, in other words, register now. And Nolo, where you are, immediately as they register, please, as you register, also in your name, in brackets, put RD. That stands for Research Dialogue, so that we know who you are. So whether you are looking at this on YouTube where we are and you are join, and then next to your name, put in brackets RD, then Little Honolo will know immediately that you are the one who's offered a free access. So we'll give you a 60-day access to the software. I think within that 60 days, you should use everything that is available as we go through. We are not done with the process of literature review. I'm looking at the time. So, and I want to see if there's any discussions and all that. And then we will literally get into the practice tomorrow. So join with your computers, not your phones, because we literally are going to have literature review and we're going to have introduction and all that. So I'll be using these tools. Tomorrow we will use a lot of ChatGPT as well. So we've used different applications or APIs. Tomorrow we'll also use ChatGPT to see how can it help us with the literature review itself, particularly with refinement of what we are doing. So we're going to be doing what is called bibliographic analysis as well, not bibliometric. This can be confusing. We talked about bibliometric analysis, but we'll be doing bibliographic analysis. Right. I think I want to end it here. Have you all joined on the software? If you've not, just do that even when we are done. Don't worry about the costs. We are going to wipe that only if in front of your name you put RD. I want you to see how the software works. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any other comment from anybody else. Are we learning? Right, you can take off the screen now. You can take off my screen.
We are learning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. We've almost come to an end. I don't know if there is any issue or anything that anybody wants to raise. I often want us to talk. I really want us to talk. Thank you so much, Advocate Benston had to log off, but she's been with us from the beginning. Thank you so much. She's also a scholar in education there, right? Thank you so much for the comment. Auskinewe, did we answer your question? Did we answer your question?
Not quite. I think it's really more of a discussion, because I guess it's a bit loaded in a way.
Yeah.
Because also the interest being to just establish the extent to which African institutions are willing to accommodate Africa-specific issues which don't have those kind of citations where a lot of people are citing them. Because you find that there is work that has been done, but the minute it comes and talks about the rural area in Mandagele somewhere, people just lose interest totally. And you'll find one citation that happened 2-3 years back and that is it. But when you read the paper, you find that there's quite a lot of value in the paper. So somehow what I have noticed is that the papers that are covering or that cover the African issue, which do not touch on this normal, I say maybe normal, for lack of better word, normal concepts and theories and blah blah, they tend to be pushed to the perimeter somehow. And if you are in that area of study, when you try to find information, you find that there isn't really much that is being covered here. Especially, let me just say, for instance, in terms of South Africa, looking into the issues of the minibus taxi.
Yeah.
You find
Yeah.
So somehow I sense that the the shoulders that we are talking about tend to be the shoulders of those who are trending, and yeah, I think that's how far I'll go.
Wow, I was thinking, well, this is very, very important. Noting that minibus network, all of it, it is literally, how do I say, my goodness, it's so profound in our daily lives, all of us. We've got aunts, parents, mothers, we have used them, we use them every day, and the bulk of our society, they are on this. We're just planning to go to Zimbabwe soon for a conference, and I was alerting my colleagues that hey, some of these airlines are expensive. I've heard that there are lovely buses that go there. So though you are on minibus, but yeah, I'm trying to say transport system is very important. And this area that you're talking about, I've not really seen much research, but I want to challenge you, Auskiniri, to in a more scientific, using these tools that we have, in the days that come, I'll also try and do my work, check what literature is available so that I can know what you are saying. I've heard what you are saying, but this is very important. And it's one of those areas that I believe social scientists should also focus on. That is if they're interested in the area of transport like itself. So we'll look at that. Yes, indeed, there's a lot about rural work that is done. I think I'll also get Dr. Fenisani, who wrote, I worked with him on his study on agriculture, looking at indigenous, not indigenous knowledge systems, but indigenous vegetables. And we looked at that, and so he worked on study on that, but we found a lot of literature with regard to rural areas on indigenous vegetables and their way of life. But I am not sure on transport because I've not done anything. I want to say, I don't know whether there isn't much, but it's something that has to be looked at. Also, what was interesting is what you said. If the Stellenbosch guys write, they write from what perspective? What is their interest in that? So it's something that one would like to look at in literature. It would be interesting to get deeper in this study. And I'll also invite other scholars that have got time. Let's collaborate and assist Auskini. She's working on this. That's literally a key area of research. So let's assist and work as a community of practice. Okay. Let me see, there's a hand. You can just go for it.
Yes, Prof. So when I go to Costa GDA, because I'm already registered, so
Oh
I
yeah.
don't have a way of putting ID, so then still wants.
It's fine. So Nolo, take note of Dr. Chris. Is already in there. So take note of him and everybody that is already in there. It's fine. But I was saying those that, because we made a challenge I think last week and said we will register people. So I realized that they've got to register themselves, and then we only enable, we bypass that gate for subscription, because we want, when we do these demonstrations, that they are able to as well do live demonstration of what we've done. That way it makes life much more easy, so that we're not talking these things from here but people can't do them when they're in their own space. The idea is that these have to be used. So Nolo, please take note. If somebody is already on the system, so there's nothing, rather, Nolo, what you could do, extend their license. Make sure that it covers 60 months. 60 months? No. 60 days. I think it's the time. 60 days.
I don't know. I'm just relieving your voice.
Is 60 months.
We don't have 60 months license.
Don't make a mistake.
All right.
I will definitely try to do it that way.
Okay. Any other comment, colleagues? Right. I think we've got to prepare to go out. Who's praying for us today? Miss Maloka, can you close for us in prayer?
Okay, thank you so much, Ross. Thank you for the opportunity to let us pray. Colleagues, Father, we give you glory, praise, and honor. We thank you for this opportunity to learn. We thank you, Father God Almighty, that you ordained wisdom as we come together in these platforms every evening. Father God Almighty, is your purpose, your intention that we discover and recover every knowledge base and a system that you have created for us. We thank you, Father, for Prof, and we bless, speaking blessing upon his life and all the scholars around here. We ask, Father, for strength and tenacity to stand and keep going. All these encounters, engagements that are futuristic, Father, we ask for strength and wisdom, Father, to rise to the level of professionalism, expertise that would glorify and magnify your holy name. We thank you, Father. Praise you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Thank you so much, Miss Maloka. Thank you so much, colleagues. See you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Good night. I'm still live.
Yeah, I was thinking about this one who guys were